Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spiritual Relationship Podcast. My name is Ken Hanneman, and this is my wonderful and amazing wife, Dr. Anno here. She has her own podcast, The Spiritual Americans. So please look that up. There's some amazing information there. This is a new series, and it's called the Spiritual Prepping. In these difficult times, we we don't only prepare, or we should not only prepare physically, but for possibly even more difficult problems and shortages and so on. I think we need also to take care of our mind and to understand that that is also a resource that we could strengthen and help us to not be a victim to situation. This second episode, the title is God as Your Ally. And what I want to say is that when you feel lonely, you feel no one has your back, that people are very limited in how they could help you if they are wrong and what they can do for you. It is really not a good feeling to feel you have no options. God is your ally or friend. And I will share in my experience what that means and how I use it in meditation. And I would like to say, and maybe I'll ask Anne also, how can you use a relationship that is dependable, available always to you, and that will help you internally if you understand who this higher being is and how I could develop a relationship that empowers. So, what is your feeling about building that relationship?
For me, growing up, I know that I'm not alone in this. There was so much energy going towards my external life, doing well in school, getting my education, doing a job, having my body be a certain way, having the right relationship, having the right marriage, there's so much like life things, physical life things that required so much energy. And the emphasis, the cultural emphasis was on all of those things. So you can say, to be fair, that I spent like 99% of my energy my whole life on that. So if one day you say, okay, who is God? Everybody has an idea in their mind, like who God is. We learn who God is in the scriptures. We learn there's all kinds of information about who God is. And I guess each one of us come up with our own kind of way of dealing with it. Some people say he doesn't exist. Some people say, I don't care about God anymore. I'm against God. Some people say, I love God. And some people are more into like scriptures and Bibles and that kind of thing, or going to church or doing missions or whatever. There's all kinds of contexts that you can use for God. We're talking about an internal context here that can help us break through some of the suffering that we have, which goes along with the spiritual prepping, right? So we want to break through some of that suffering. Some of the suffering we have is loneliness. Some of the suffering we have is confusion. Some of the suffering we have is based on low self-respect or lack of dignity or feeling disempowered in our life. And maybe nowadays I could say that with the good intentions is not enough. Is that fair?
Right.
That good intentions is not enough. That before maybe it was, and before maybe the world cooperated with my good intentions, but it doesn't seem to be working now. So what I want to say about God, what I learned, well, first let me say what it was before. What I kind of came up with before understanding what I know now is that if I do whatever I'm supposed to do, then God will give me whatever I want. It was kind of like a transactional relationship, I thought. And that was fair enough. At least it kept me from going nuts. At least I was like, okay, if I do the right thing, it'll be, God will take care of me. There was a sense of that if I did my part, God would do his part. That was the sense. But when I came to this knowledge, I understood more that God exists in my mind. God exists in my memory. God exists in my heart. That is a big shift energetically from all the external things to connecting with someone in my own mind or in my own heart. What is in my heart? I wasn't paying attention to it. What's in my mind? Chaos, pain, confusion, whatever, right? So if all of that is in there, so the name of this thing is making God your ally. And Ken is very good at describing this part, but I'm going to say what it means to me. When I understood who God actually is, that God is a living consciousness, just like me. God is a point of light, meaning he's a unique consciousness. God is a unique living being. We call him the Supreme because he's so subtle. That's I say he, it's not a he or a she, but that soul is so subtle that soul's mark is on every other soul. So we say we're God's children. Are we his children? Meaning physical bodies and nobody gives birth, right? But the sense that we are connected in terms of qualities, in terms of the fact that we're souls, we're connected. We are related in that way because we are similar. That helped me a lot because I didn't feel like God is some faraway thing that I couldn't relate to. That was one thing. Second thing is godly knowledge, to understand things from a perspective of, let's say, the laws of karma, or understanding how the soul sheds the body and takes the next. And that's nature. That's how things work. To be able to stand here and say, this body is part of the earth and the body is going back to the earth. But I, the soul, go on. My life continues. That is something that I wasn't able to say before. I was afraid of death. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of that. So that's what we call like body consciousness. So when I say God is my ally, it's three things. One, when I understood who God was and I understand who I was, all of a sudden it wasn't so far away. That's one. Second thing is the knowledge. All of a sudden I understand everything. So now I'm not confused. That's huge, especially for someone like me who is super intellectual. And then the third thing, which I'm working on now, so full disclosure, this is what I'm working on now, is letting God into my heart, like remembering
Right.
God in my heart, like my feelings and in my mind, like I'm not alone. I'm not alone. I'm not carrying the burden of life alone. And that's what I am looking at expanding on now and deepening my understanding and experience now. So that's my experience. So maybe you could start.
Yeah, I'll share a little on my experience. Is that this in this world, let's say, like there are a lot of wars going on. There are a lot of things going on that we will see as injustice, or the strong seems to be dictating what is right or wrong, or nobody cares. All they care about is profit. Also, too, if you look at relationships, it seems that there was a time that people can depend on their family or the village, or you can get some help, and there's community. But now that is reducing, and you're feeling more confined, or
Isolated.
and that you have to do this all on your own. And within the family, if there's pressures of financial pressures and all other things, you have a problem. You go to bed feeling like, what else can I do? In meditation, the way I define and I relate with God, I will explain it in terms, it's an internal experience. I really don't think God is on the outside or physical. When I go inside, for me to feel healthy and to feel strong, I define myself as a spiritual being of peace, love, happiness, power, strength, hope, mercy, compassion. These are some of the qualities that when I think of them deeply in meditation, it makes me feel good. But if I think of a problem, or think I'm weak, or think that God hates me, or that he's looking down at me, or he's going to punish me, or I didn't do the puja in time, therefore, I'm going to suffer, those thoughts bring me down. So this is an internal realization and understanding that I'm actually causing sorrow to myself when I think of myself in a negative way, or I think of myself in terms of what I perceive other people think of me.
Even God.
Yeah, and even
God
God.
thinking of you, right?
And a lot of times, if you had a chance to talk to God and ask him, and he says, And you wonder, are you seeing me as not
Worthy,
or
like,
not
yeah.
worthy or whatever? He would say, what you're talking about. I have a pure vision, and I see you as a child with a potential for peace and love and care, and to be able to use that power to help other people. If I examine that more deeply in my meditation and contemplation, it makes a lot of sense to think that he loves and he cares. The other thing is that when I think of him, I don't now think of him like he can supply me with a car and a house and physical stuff. I think more in terms of peace and love and happiness and knowledge and wisdom and light, protection. And I can surrender to someone who loves me. And that is what is lacking in human relationship. I can't trust any human being completely, but I could trust this being. Now, this is an internal thing in meditation, but it's an amazing process of using your intellect and using spiritual knowledge to develop a relationship that you are in charge of. And there is a wonderful response in that relationship where I say, God, you're wonderful. And he says, I am. If I have a problem and an issue, I can sort of open my heart out and just explain it fully to him without any reservation, without any fear, without feeling of they're going to be judgment or punishment. He's a friend. I see him more like as a friend, the best, and that he would listen. The amazing thing about that, the psychology of it, is that as I as I am making things without emotion, I'm making it clear to myself and my intellect what the problem is. And the thing is, it seems as if I will come up with the solution. And we can say, God bless us with that. The thing is, what God just did is the love and the connection that you feel allows your mind to become calmer and allows your intellect a chance to actually make a decision and to maybe make a good choice. Also, in that feeling of detachment from the world and from the problem, you now are able to send some good intentions about what your outlook is. You can also examine to see if you have any selfishness in that, or whether there is some thing that I need to change on my own. Maybe I'm desiring too much, or maybe I'm expecting too much. Maybe I'm competing with people outside. I want to get more and more and more, and then I'm realizing, do I really need it? In this quiet reflection, maybe I don't. Maybe I could step away. Maybe I could see what it is like to do without that particular thing. Or even a relationship, you might realize in relationship, a lot of times there are things that we can change in the way we act and our body language and the words we use. And if you're guided by the law of karma, you, your intellect actually awakens, and then you realize you're not cut off, and that you have the ability to you have choices, and therefore it puts you back in control. So isn't that a good relationship to have with a being, especially when you can't go to any human being maybe outside here who will probably be, they don't take sides and they're not judgmental, but they can give you a good advice. That is very rare to have that. So this is one good example of using God as your ally, as your friend, as one you can trust.
You know, I just want to underline this thing. So there are people out there who may be listening to this that may have had like some pain about God, like some disappointment in the past. Like maybe they felt like they believed in it and now something happened and it just shattered their belief, like whatever structure they had around God or what God should be doing or how God should be. And they've been disappointed. What we're talking about right now is you're actively participating in how God shows up in your mind and heart. You're actively participating. There are two things. One thing is the feeling of being cut off from God, or God is so far away that I can't reach. The other is feeling not worthy of God, like God is somehow looking at me, judging me, whatever, and I'm just a failed whatever human being, sinner, whatever language is used. That's not to say that I don't want to be responsible for myself. Obviously, I do. And we always need to be careful. We were talking about that this morning. This is not the time to be careless either. Having said that, isn't there room for love too and an open heart? Isn't there room to feel safe somewhere? Isn't there room to feel like held and not alone? We're saying yes. And you just heard two people now, two souls, talk about their unique relationship. There are some principles here, right? Because we did talk a little bit about knowledge, and we talked a little bit about the reality of how souls are and how God is, I want to say, loving enough, egoless enough, pure enough, and subtle enough to show up how you need him. It's not like human beings where you have to deal with the fact that they can't be there. You have to like hold yourself together and realize that this happened to me the other day. I asked somebody I said, "Can I ask you a question?" They're like, "Well, can you hold off till later? Blah, I got to do something else." And I'm like, that's a subtle thing, but it hurts. It just hurts. It's like you're opening yourself up to say something. And the person they're not wrong, okay? They're not wrong. But that moment of feeling like opening up and then someone's not there. God can always be there. In your heart, in your mind, in your intellect, in your understanding. Always there. And we can create that context for which God is always there. And not just a context, but a home, like a home for God in your heart. And a relationship. This is what's meant by a relationship with God, Sometimes we say a relationship with God. Oh, I have a relationship with God. Well, what does that mean, like practically speaking? How do you use that relationship with God? What does God provide for you? What do you use God for? Like Ken was saying, you can kind of contemplate. And in that contemplation, it makes sense. And also somebody might say, well, maybe it's just in your mind. Okay, it's just in my mind, but it's working.
And that's it.
And that's the other piece.
That's a good point.
That each of us is a unique consciousness. This is also part of the knowledge, is that each of us has our own universe, our own unique perspective of consciousness. So if I'm having this experience in my mind, then I'm having the experience in my mind.
And it is helping you.
And it's helping me, and it's real for me.
Yeah, it becomes self-evident.
Right.
If something that if an experience you can produce within your mind and with your intellect, this connection with a higher power, or somebody that you have given so much authority to, right? This word God. Look how much authority people give to that word, that he can do anything and that he can make, it's like that's taking it too far. What is good. Anytime you have an authority who you think can do good, bad, and the ugly, like he can do everything. Then what happens is that when good things happen, you'll feel great, and when bad things happen, you will blame yourself for it,
or blame God and then lose faith. Then you lose faith. Yeah.
So, in your internal experience is what, or what is it that your body is sensing? One, fear or happiness on the other side. Mm-hmm. And if you are spending your time thinking you're hated or you're not worthy or you're not, the only thing your body understands is that you're under stress. You're not being loved. You're not being liked. And the other problem that people think that if I get some success or I get what I want physically, that is a proof of love. But that's not really so.
Well, ask yourself if that is really true.
It's true, right?
Has that actually worked?
Yeah.
Does it actually work?
Like there are
you
examples.
have to ask yourself.
Yeah, there's some mothers, they pray to God to get a child. And if the child, dies, then they say something they did wrong. The guru said, and if guru told them that, and the child dies, and the child is okay and fine, then the guru gets the praise for it. It's really.
Yeah, but you're not even participating. You're dependent on this outside force. The other thing is like even like wealth and things that you get, or degrees or education or relationships. It's all external. You get them all, but is it a guarantee that you're going to be happy all the time? The truth is no.
Yeah.
God is the one that's there, that he's outside of that whole system. And because I'm a soul like God, and I'm connected as a soul, connected not physically, but connected in terms of like energy, that's always available to me.
Yeah. I've seen countries, and you look at history, there are population countries that went through some really difficult economic times and a lot of poverty and a lot of things. I don't know whoever caused it. We're not going into that. The thing is that they had faith and they had love, and eventually, you will look at their economy today, and they're all the way up to the top, and that's amazing, right? But so it doesn't mean that if you attach your physical condition to God failing you, there are two difficulties with that. One is that you're going to lose faith in yourself, and you're also going to lose faith in God. The thing is that if we take away that, and let's say whatever we have in life is based on our own action, our own
Right.
karma,
Right.
and we let internally, don't break the relationship, the faith that there's someone who loves you, you're not alone,
Right. Right.
and there's someone you can talk to and care, and who, like I said before, he's always available and kind and loving, and
Like,
it doesn't judge.
can I just
Yeah.
interject? Do I need God to help me write my resume? Do I need God to help me do my job, or to help me set my alarm, or like, I don't need him for that. What do I actually need God for? I would assert that what we need God for is that
Yeah, your self-esteem,
the
your
internal self.
self-confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to have a mind that is always critical of itself, and always cursing itself, and always confused, and having all these voices going on. It's very difficult for you to make the proper decision, and then you really do feel sad and alone, because you don't have any connection with your higher self, with you self, and then also you don't have a human being who's going to have the patience to be with you.
What human being can give us the kind of help that we need? Like, seriously, what human being, especially now? One last thing I wanted to say. Talk to the people who have illness, people who have like situations that aren't resolving, people who are in maybe extreme circumstances. Like, this also is important for them, right? Because it's not,
Yeah.
I mean, we are in a situation right now, which may change, which is like we're in a wealthy situation. Like, our problems are like work and resumes and everything, like I just said. But other people might have different kinds of problems. Okay. So talk about that. Like, when you have a body illness, when it's more maybe existential, like you're not living at that level up here. You're actually at a different level. But how can you still maintain that kind of security and faith?
Yeah, you're right. That's many people. They might have money and whatever it is, but their health is not well, and then you wonder what you did wrong.
Right.
And
We get confused and
yeah,
sad, right?
and the thing about, I mean, we all know we're gonna die, right? The body, and you have in this Kali Yuga, in this Iron Age, wrong. You never. There's on time. We call it untimely death. Like you don't even know when and how.
Right. We don't know when.
And the most difficult part is to see someone going through a disease process that slowly and painfully maybe taking, they're going through that process and then leaving body. And it really takes a toll. But even then, it is possible. Even if you are very religious and whatever, it doesn't, we've seen a lot of examples of these things happen. So if you know that these are some of the realities of our existence during this time, and then with wars and all of that, and you can say like almost senseless dying, death with natural disaster also, you have to separate out something is happening to the body, but I, the soul, I'm separate, meaning that even while the body is going through something, remember, your mind can still be healthy. in your mind you can have some peace, and you can also have some gratitude and compassion towards your own body.
And
Try to
and to keep your dignity
keep,
around your
yeah,
family, to keep your dignity during this
right.
time.
Be
Yes.
positive, less
Yes.
complaining, more giving, more smile, maybe, even though it's difficult. What it does is that it helps even those who are looking at you going through that process, they feel maybe inspired or whatever, and you look courageous. Um, you are you have to see health of the mind as something that is possible to keep it up and make it stronger and be victorious over the pain, be victorious. And sometimes that's what the body needs to actually build up its immunity to heal, maybe.
But
But
even if the body's
if it
leaving you,
doesn't,
yeah.
yeah, if it doesn't, at least you will leave with some kind of inspiration, and with a good feeling towards life and our existence, and what it means like to be human, to always use whatever resource you have to help, to give, to care. That is better than suffering, complaining, thinking you are the worst thing that happened, you don't deserve to live.
Yeah.
You don't need to have those thoughts and those feelings. They're self-defeating, and you are more restless in that state.
Can I say we should practice that all the time? Like we should really try to practice that all the time. Just one last thought I wanted to say. No matter what, having God inside is always available. We may not always remember.
He's just a thought away, so
He's
he's
just
always
a thought away, but I would say that if the mind is full of emotions and full of reactions, it's probably pretty much impossible to feel connected. So it's very important. This is why meditation is important. And also understanding, not just sitting doing the meditation as a discipline, but understanding what we're trying to do, which is trying to get into the experience and habit of calming the mind, becoming less emotional, and creating an environment where I can have that kind of connection with myself as a peaceful being who's not going insane,
right,
right? Think about that. That's important. When things change, don't we start going crazy?
right.
So I'm not going crazy and I'm not alone. No one can be with me in my own mind except God.
Yep. Yeah, your mind needs a good friend, and you are the one actually never think that. I think it's a strong opposition for you to have that faith that there is this possible to have God, make God a friend, and to know you're absolutely sure He is incapable of giving sorrow.
It's
He
just peace and light
peace,
and love.
love, light, wisdom, and presence and availability. He's the best listener there is, and if your mind is quiet enough, He will give you touchings.
Yes, and
You,
we've experienced
we have
this more and more.
experienced that.
Yes, more and
But
more.
He needs a quiet mind
You
to
need to
talk
have
to.
a quiet mind.
If you have a busy line, it's hard to hear anything.
Right, good
Okay.
point.
So with that,
All
we will
right.
close. And remember that in the description, we have links for free meditation classes on Zoom. And also, there's also commentaries that are available on Release Your Wings. The link is there also. Everything that is offered through the Raj Yoga meditation, Brahma Kumaris, is free.
Mm-hmm.
There might even be a center close to you. So all of that information can be found. Okay then. With that, we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening, and I
Okay.
hope it was helpful.
Bye-bye,
Okay, bye
everyone.
bye.